Hi everybody, my name is Jesse
And I'm Cheryl.
and welcome to our channel. Today we're going to talk about our 10 reasons of why you should move to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. The first reason is exposure to a new culture. There's a lot of museums in Amsterdam, for example, from the Anne Frank House to War Museum. On top of that, the Netherlands is just a beautiful country, and specifically Amsterdam. There's lots of canals and lots of parks in the city.
And as a creative myself, I'm a designer. I really draw inspiration from places that I go to and scenery. So having exposure to lots of museums, culture, and just like nature really helps with inspiring me and just the fact that it's beautiful, but also a lot of inspiration in art. So that's our first reason. All right, the next reason to move to Amsterdam is for the big bike culture here. So here, the primary way to move from A to B, to go to work, to go out, is by bike. And we came from a city where we drove pretty much everywhere in Vancouver, Canada. Things were spread apart and things were further away. So everybody had a car to get to work, to get to go groceries, everything to do requires a car. But here in Amsterdam, the beauty is everybody travels by bike. If you are traveling within the city or even just outskirts of the city, it's very easily accessible by bike. Jesse goes to work by bike, and yeah, everywhere we go is by bike, which is incredible because the whole city has bike lanes, which makes it really easy for bikers and make it safe for bikers to be separated bike to cars. And because there's a huge bike culture here, cars know exactly how to react and also be in harmony with all the bikes that are within the city, which is drastically different from where we came from in Vancouver. So that is probably one of our top reasons of why we wanted to move here.
Yeah, we've said goodbye to waiting in traffic, to paying for gas for our cars, and to finding parking and paying for parking. That stuff is out of the window. We just have bikes now, and that's our main mode of transportation within the city.
And we love it. All right, on to our next reason, which is similar to the biking culture. It's actually a really big health and wellness culture in Amsterdam. I think there are a lot of younger communities who live in the city of Amsterdam right now, which brings up all of the health and wellness trends that are going on around the world. For example, there are a ton of yoga centers and fitness classes and gyms everywhere across the city, allowing you to really be healthy no matter what interests you have. There's even classes outdoors at the parks.
Especially during the summertime.
Yeah, and there are actually a lot of free resources, fitness centers, groups, fitness classes that are available to everyone. But also on top of that, not only can you get access to a lot of fitness stuff, there's actually, if you're into, organic, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, whatever your dietary needs are, there are a lot of options. When it comes to healthy groceries, like buying organic and buying vegan meat substitutes, let's say, to us, coming from Vancouver, those things were at a premium cost. It was super expensive. But if you were to purchase those things at grocery stores here, because they're so readily available, it's actually not at a premium charge. It's kind of similar to what you would buy for normal groceries.
Another example is if we're at a cafe and we're ordering a cappuccino or a latte. I remember back home in Canada, to get soy milk or almond milk, an alternative to regular milk, is an extra cost. But in Amsterdam, it's just no extra charge to switch to almond, soy, or oat milk.
A lot of places don't charge extra for those alternative milks, which is a plus.
The next reason is Amsterdam is a very open city and community. They're very free and liberal and accepting of all race, culture, and sexuality.
Yeah, and that's probably why it's such an internationally welcoming city here. And a lot of expats move here just because of that. There's no judgment, and everyone just seems very free, and everyone pretty much makes a choice in their individuality here. So we really appreciate that coming as minorities. We are Asian, coming from Canada, so we felt very accepted the moment we moved here ourselves. So definitely a plus.
The next reason to move to Amsterdam is the big expat community here in Amsterdam. So relating to the previous reason, because Amsterdam is such a welcoming city, lots of people love to move here to work, study, and etc.
And I think it's pretty known here that because there's so many expats attract other expats here. So a lot of our friends honestly are other expats coming from Canada or from the US. So if you're worried about making friends here when you move here, let's say you're from North America, there's a really high chance you'll probably find a big expat community or group of friends to hang out with. And because of that, there's also a lot of resources to meet other expats. If you go on Facebook, I know a couple of groups, we can kind of link those below in the description, of different expats groups. So like there's like a Canadian, I think there's like a Canadian in Amsterdam group, there's like probably an American in Amsterdam group, there's like expat volleyball players in Amsterdam group, and for me there's also an international woman entrepreneur expat group on Facebook as well. So tons of tiny like niche expat groups in Amsterdam, and I think like because there's so many expats, there's like a huge architecture built in for expats in Amsterdam. Like there's different businesses that are tailored to helping expats. Let's say helping you find rentals, helping you buy housing here in Amsterdam.
And even there's expat maintenance companies. So if something breaks in your apartment, for example,
our plumber is an expat.
Then they brand themselves as an expat plumber or expat, etc. So there's tons of expat targeted businesses here in Amsterdam to help expats live their life.
Exactly.
The next reason to move to Amsterdam is the low language barrier. Everyone in Amsterdam speaks English. You go to a cafe, you go to a grocery store, you go anywhere in Amsterdam, everyone will be able to speak English.
And I think one of the biggest perks for this and the reasons why we moved to Amsterdam was because of work. We were worried that, if we don't speak a local language, we wouldn't be able to find work. Now, if you're looking for work in a customer facing position, then a lot of times they will ask for Dutch language, at least like just like your normal day-to-day language. But let's say in the pipe, if you're asking, looking for a job as a barista, I think a lot of those coffee shops would be okay if you just speak English, which is a plus for us. Not that we were looking for a barista job, we were looking for office jobs. And knowing that most people do and can speak English here, it was a lot easier for us to find a job where we didn't have to worry about language barriers.
The next reason to move to Amsterdam is the loads of job opportunity. Especially if you work in a technology space or business space, there's lots of jobs available. There's programs such as the highly skilled worker visa that companies can take advantage of when they're hiring you.
Yeah, and what comes with highly skilled migrant visa a lot of times, you can also get the 30% ruling. So that's really a great perk, meaning that 30% of your income is not taxed, which is a huge perk. So I think those were one of the top reasons why we even considered moving to Amsterdam, because of all of these great perks. Yeah, and I guess one of the reasons why when we were picking a place to move to, we were kind of considering London or Amsterdam. And it was because both places had a lot of home offices in the tech space specifically, which Jesse was interested in at the time. So a lot of big international worldwide companies in the tech space are in both London and Amsterdam. It's very common to be like, oh, I'm gonna move to London for the big city life and like work for a big company, but people don't necessarily associate Amsterdam with that. So when we found out that there are a lot of big tech companies within Amsterdam, we were kind of surprised and shocked to find that out, and I think a lot of people don't know that. So if you're considering London because of big tech companies,
or
then
maybe the English speaking comfort,
yeah,
you can get that in Amsterdam.
you can
as well.
get the same
and
in
on top
Amsterdam.
of that, you're eligible for 30% ruling if you are relocating from another country. The next reason to move to Amsterdam is the abundance of vacation you'll get here in the Netherlands. Most companies, I think it's by law actually, that you should get a minimum of 25 days of holidays here in the Netherlands, and that works out to be 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like compared to back home in Vancouver, it's usually minimum, like if you have a full-time job, it's minimum 2 weeks of vacation.
Most companies give you 3 on average.
If you work for a big company, it's usually minimum 3, but starting at 2. So that difference is huge for us. One of the reasons or one of the variables that we were considering when we were picking a city to move to was to make sure that we have great work-life balance. The reason why we wanted to move somewhere so we can travel more often and just kind of live a different lifestyle than we had in Vancouver. So we wanted to make sure that work-life balance, which means lots of vacation time, is available to us. And Amsterdam is definitely the place for that. And I kind of mentioned us like comparing between London and Amsterdam. We've talked to people, expats who have moved to both cities just to kind of compare the work culture in both cities. And London, it's definitely going to be a little bit less balanced.
I mean, if you're into a fast-paced life, working hard, lots of action happening, London is a great place. But for us, we want to work hard in our professional life, but we also value the work-life balance. And for that reason alone, Amsterdam became the clear answer for us.
Winner. Yeah. All right, so speaking of work, that was mainly for Jesse's reasons why we decided to move here. But for my reasons, I am a small business owner. I started a business when I moved to Amsterdam. So making sure that they are supportive of small businesses was a huge reason why I really wanted to move to Amsterdam. For tax reasons, if you're a new startup, there are a lot of tax credits and benefits for small businesses. And just knowing that, you know that the government is supportive of small businesses in that way. But in addition to that, I feel like there are a lot of freelancers in the city because remote working is like a huge thing in Amsterdam. There's a lot of co-working spaces here, and there's a lot of meetups. Like there's this company called Creative Mornings. They have creative entrepreneurship meetups in Amsterdam, and there's a lot of freelancing Facebook groups to meet other freelancers and small business owners in the city. So I think there's just like an environment of small business owners and freelancing people, which creates a good ecosystem if you are wanting to start a small business in Amsterdam.
And the last reason, and it's a big reason to move to Amsterdam, is the easy accessibility of traveling around Europe. Starting with one point, Schiphol, there is a lot of direct flights to many cities in Europe, and a lot of flights within...
And even international. Yeah.
And then, for example, Spain, France, Germany, UK, a lot of those flights, or even in Italy, a lot of those flights are maybe 2 hours or less to get to a major city. And then we also have Amsterdam Central, our train station. And by train, you can get to a lot of nearby countries like France, Germany, Belgium, but direct, and probably 6 hours or less.
All right, so that is our reasons of why you should consider moving to Amsterdam. If you have any other reasons, let's say you already live here and you have more reasons than that, please leave them in the comments below. If you are considering moving to Amsterdam and you have any questions for us, we've been here as expats for almost a year now, so we have a little bit more experience now, and definitely a lot of recommendations and tips. So leave your questions below in the comments, or reach out to us by DM on our Instagrams, and we'd be happy to help you. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a little heart, like it, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to know when the next video is coming out. We create content all about our move to Amsterdam from Canada and all of the expat kind of ideas, tips, and recommendations that we have for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and have a lovely rest of your day.
See you next time.
Bye.